guys, Jacob Smith here from Society Reviews, contributor abounding in the comics, and you're watching the All Over the Place podcast where the fun sanity never ends.
Hello and welcome back to All Over the Place, the official podcast of Media Film Live. I'm your host, Eric Provoznik, and we've got Jim Culver in as well, and we've got just me and Jim tonight. We're keeping it tight tonight, folks, although because there's only two of us this evening, the honorable mentions in our Threefer is just might get a little more plentiful than usual. We'll see what happens. It's me, it's Jim. We're talking about movies. And I got to have my finger, since I'm also producing tonight, and just for the record, record has been hit. So we don't have to worry about that. Yay me. But we are talking about movie Henchmen. And Jim, very quickly, I'm going to remove us, keep it recording, and just let people see what they will see when this goes up on the social. And also, as you may have figured out by peering over my shoulder here, is Odd Job. But when we talk about our movie Henchmen this evening, we are excluding, just simply because they're part and parcel of the Bond series. We're going to do another Bond one later on, just exclusively Bond Henchmen. But I figure Odd Job looking over my shoulder, and it looked kind of cool. And hopefully, you people who are watching on YouTube enjoy that part too. And please, Jim, let me know if you see the bowler coming off so I can duck appropriately.
Not so far.
Okay. And very quickly, before we get going, I was down in Columbus this past weekend doing some umping and we didn't end up working together. We had a rain out for all of our games, but during the rain out, gentleman Cal Allman and we got to talking, fellow huge baseball fan, umping a long time, cool dude. And we got to talking about the Round and Third Productions t-shirts. And he also, he and his father have a little product, some merchandise going on. And they sell this through Umpatire. And I'll just give a quick note here, and I'll get it going along the bottom. Zoom in on that extreme close-up. There we go.
Nope.
And sorry,
job took it away.
There we go. But let me put the list up here so you can check it out. And for those of you who are listening only, I'm going to get to the full website in a second as it scrolls down there on the bottom for everybody. But he and his dad, they have these clips that umpires can use. Attach it to your shirt, and then you take I got it upside down. Then you take it and you clip the bottom to your shin guards, and that way your shirt stays tucked in and neat the entire time. So Cal and his dad, I'll read it. It's a Plate-Pro umpire shirt stays, and designed by an umpire for umpires to keep you looking your best on the diamond. And you can get them at ump-attire.com/product/PLT-pro/plate-pro-umpire-shirt-stays to look your best on the field. But Cal Allman, and also he was nice enough to give me this nice coin, and this is for flipping at the plate. Don't have a regular coin. No one says heads, or they pull Jerome Bettis, the bus, making that call in the air, and he didn't, and they said heads. He thought I said tails, whatever it was. But you got first base on one side, third base on the other. That's who gets to pick who wants to be home or away. So Cal Allman, thank you so much for the products there. Thanks for going out there and being supportive of All Over the Place and Round and Third Productions. And don't forget, folks, you can get your Round and Third merch. You can get these baseball themed shirts there as well, All Over the Place. And that's at Roundin, no G, roundin-third-productions.launchcart.store/shop. Round and Third Productions.launchcart.store/shop. And now that the pimpin's out of the way, let's get to our usual fun sanity, Jim, and Henchmen, movie Henchmen, starting with you.
Okay, so we're going to go 3, 2, 1. Is that
However
a good plan?
You want to do it.
All right.
Prepare for overlap, folks. It's me and Jim.
Okay, I'm gonna start off by making something very clear. I am this show's sidekick, not henchman. Okay, important distinction.
This is very true. Very true.
That's right, boss. I mean,
sheesh.
Okay, so for my number 3, and by the way, we are excluding Bond henchmen from this.
A reminder on that, yes.
Aside from the one staring over Eric's shoulder. And I personally am excluding henchwomen, even though there are a lot of good ones in the movies. They kind of feel like a separate thing. So I'm sticking with male henchmen. Okay. So my number 3 is from the movie Superman, Otis,
Ah,
played by the great Ned Beatty, probably the funniest movie henchman of all time. Just the butt of every joke, the perfect foil for Gene Hackman's ego as Lex Luthor, and some of the funniest parts of that movie is his using his comedic gifts. I mean, when Lex says take Superman's coat and he says I don't think he wants me to, or when he tries to hand scribble in Otisburg as part of the new world under Lex's takeover. Just hilarious stuff.
little things, yeah. Oh,
little
great
things.
call.
Yeah, absolutely. And and Ned Beatty was perfect for that. And so that's my my number 3 right there.
I like it. I like that one a lot. And the mighty Ned Beatty. That's just awesome. Anything that guy does. So like that call. Going to mine, and this was tough. So Jim, it seems we'll see what happens next. But for me, in honor of being back in Ohio, I'm going to keep this centric to just 80s movies, 80s movie henchmen.
Ah, okay.
Things I saw when I was still living in Ohio, and so my number 3 is going to be also just as mighty, the mighty Kurtwood Smith as Clarence Boddicker in RoboCop. The guy, even though he was, the henchman for Dick Jones, the mighty Ronnie Cox as well.
I work for Dick Jones.
All these character actors are mighty. They're back when character actors were character actors.
Absolutely.
Yeah. They could be have thinning hair. They could be a little just not the leading man, just character actors. Love it. But Clarence Boddicker was just probably more evil than Dick Jones, as far as I'm concerned. That guy, no remorse, no nothing. Perfect henchman for just doing the bidding
Easily.
of his boss.
Yep.
And one more time for us, Jim. Who is Clarence Boddicker? Who's he work for?
I work for Dick Jones.
Yes, very nice.
See, see my problem now is I go back and see that, and all I see is Red Foreman. Anything he does, just threatening to put his foot up his kid's ass. So that's my problem.
You're waiting for him to call RoboCop a dumbass.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I did not put him on my list not because he isn't an awesome henchman, but because he's such a good henchman. He kind of overshadows the villain and becomes the villain. And there were several that I thought about putting on my list, but I decided, these guys are such memorable villains that they feel like the villain by the end of the movie.
Yeah.
More so than the actual villain. So I felt like a good henchman shouldn't overshadow his boss too much. So that's why I kept them off. And I'll mention some of them later. But
yeah, as I scan down my list, you might say that a couple of times more for me. So
yeah.
But okay, but over to you for your next pick.
Okay. So for my number 2, so there's a lot of henchmen that they don't accomplish a whole lot in the course of the movie. They just kind of follow orders, and some of them bumble, some of them get themselves killed. This might be one of the most overachieving henchmen, even though he's completely unlikable. Grima Wormtongue from Lord of the Rings. Because you think about this guy, just with his power of suggestion, he brought an entire kingdom basically to its knees and almost destroyed it. And it took Gandalf, who was basically a god, to knock him out of that. And I think for a simple henchman, that's practically punching above his weight class. I mean, that's pretty impressive. And, not to mention the fact that he's played by the great Brad Dourif. But aside from that, just a henchman that really accomplished quite a bit on his own. Unfortunately, was reduced to a lot less once he got knocked off his perch. But yeah, a really cool character. Just a real good example of a character who's so unlikable that he's even made almost physically repulsive, as kind of an outward way of showing what an ugly person he is. That you just kind of are repelled by the sight of him. But yeah, a great character. and a good example of the power of just words. He doesn't throw a punch in the entire movie. It's just the things he says, and beautifully acted. So that's my pick.
This is showing how much I sadly forget the movie. I forgot that Brad Dourif was even in the trilogy, and then that's a guy, just one of those, again, great actors who just sinks into his role, and maybe not to the degree of a Gary Oldman, but pretty much unrecognizable as he goes from character to character. Just the definition of a great character actor. Yeah.
To me, he's one of those actors. Whenever even if it's just a terrible B movie or something, as soon as you see him, you just kind of internally go, "Yes," because something fun's going to happen.
Yeah, something's going to happen. Exactly. Yeah. Well, for my next one, it's hard to overshadow the guy who is ultimately his boss, although I can't remember his exact rank in the movie, but Toht from Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yep.
Again, a guy who was just deliciously evil, stole scenes where he needed to, but subtly stole the scene. Just Heil Hitler, as he puts, and just there's
the thing burn into his hand. Yeah.
Oh, just things like that, and just a skeptic in the movie, a religious skeptic, a skeptic of faith, but just all, which ultimately is his undoing. But and just pure evil. But as a Nazi should be, but and I can't deny that I thank him, or maybe I should not, because for years when I was trying to attempt a German accent, I would just come back to Dr. Johns. I would just come back to Todt and be talking like him, and
works every time.
but when you're asked to do, you're told to slip into something a little less nefarious and evil. I didn't want all Germans to come across as evil. I have a lot of German friends, so I didn't want to come across as to all of some Dr. Johns. So
but absolutely. He is so evil and so memorable. You almost forget that he's not the boss. That there's another guy. There's another guy over his head that's actually in charge of everything. You barely remember that guy because this guy was so, like, just, to me, he was probably one of the most unsettling villains of my childhood. Yeah. He was so creepy. I mean, he doesn't actually do a whole lot, but just the mannerisms, the way he talks, the way he acts, the way you can tell he's just like salivating to hurt somebody in some scenes. He just comes off as so creepy and unsettling that it's like you don't even need Hitler in the movie. Just this guy embodies everything that we're supposed to be fighting against.
Yeah,
that Indy's supposed to be fighting against, and just completely just unsettling creep from beginning to end. And the way he goes out, whoo, boy, gave me nightmares, but still satisfying.
There's always room for Jello. To you, Jim, with your number one.
All right, since I'm down to my number one, I'm going to mention some honorable mentions. Hopefully, I won't step on any of yours. Apologies if I do.
Again, if we've learned anything over the time with all of our Threefers, it doesn't matter.
It really doesn't.
We're all intelligent people here. This is bound to happen.
Yeah, it's all good. All right, so I'm going to start with, for my honorable mentions, I'm going to start with Bud from Kill Bill. Didn't get a lot of screen time, but Michael Madsen made him such a memorable character that you almost want to see a lot more. Or not almost, you do want to see a lot more of him than you got. Charlie Prince from the 310 to Yuma remake, played by Ben Foster. Great example of a henchman. He loses his boss early on, and I think he's described as like a mad dog without a master. For the rest of the movie, he just goes on a rampage trying to get his boss back. Great character and brilliantly played. I'm gonna go with a fellow named Al Leong in Anything. This guy was the ultimate henchman of the 80s. He was the guy in Die Hard who stole a candy bar. He was the guy in Lethal Weapon that tortured Mel Gibson with electricity, and a million other action movies from that era. And he was like the perfect quintessential henchman from that era. And I'm just gonna say right here, if I ever become an evil supervillain, my first move I'm gonna make is to hire him. So I feel like it's essential.
Yeah. and he's got a documentary about how awesome of a henchman he is, right?
If he does, I haven't heard of that.
Research. I think I stumbled across it. I could be wrong on that one, but and here's the
Okay.
thing: by the time we get to editing, I will be the ombudsman that I occasionally am, and I will correct myself, or I'll either validate it or just show I'm just apparently making things up as I go along.
Okay, so yeah, El Leon collectively for his entire body of work as Hollywood's henchman in the 80s, and I'm also going to go with for my last honorable mention from the Punisher movie, The Russian, played by Kevin Nash, and he only has one scene in that. He doesn't say a word, but he is such a memorable, tough guy, and when he throws the Punisher around the apartment, destroys everything. Smashes the barrel of his gun before he can shoot him. I mean, just one thing after another. It's such a I don't think that Punisher movie was. I think it had its flaws, but that scene with the Russian is fantastic. You can look it up on YouTube if you haven't seen the movie. It's one of my favorite action movies of the last 25 years because it's so much fun. Action scenes of the last 25 years because it's so much fun. And Kevin Nash is absolutely fantastic in it. So those are my honorable mentions. My number one pick is Bob from Batman. Joker's Bob.
Yes, awesome call. And that was one of my honorable mentions. So take it away.
Fair. All right. That's fair. Played by Tracy Walter, who's a great character actor. He's just fun. He's such a fun henchman. He makes being a henchman look probably more fun than any other character in movies. He's just having a good time. He's quiet. He's like the perfect foil for Jack Nicholson's Joker because he's quiet. He's unassuming. Joker's ranting and yelling at him, and Bob just says, "Yes, sir." And wearing all black, wearing sunglasses, just completely laid back, but completely loyal, and has one of the funniest death scenes of all time, in my opinion. Me and my friends, we would get together and recreate that with like that scene with squirt guns and things like that because we thought that was hilarious. But I absolutely love Bob. I think Bob is awesome. He just seems like such a fun, unassuming character. And there's so many scenes where Jack is going crazy, and you can see Bob just going with the flow, taking it easy, backing him up, and just trying to have a good time. And he's a insanely fun henchman, and Bob's awesome. So
Which of course it didn't hurt that he and Jack were friends off screen.
Undoubtedly, yeah, probably helped a lot.
Yeah. So I love it. So one of my honorable mentions, you're number one. That's how rich the decade was, folks. In that, the henchman. And running down quickly my honorable mentions, and I forgot to get the guy who played him his name, but it's just I think I want to list Clytus from Flash Gordon, just because his death scene was so over the top fun with it, watching his eye pop through. That was
yep.
And the opening of the Clytus, I'm bored.
Such a great movie.
Fabulously delivered there by Ming the Merciless. So, but yeah, Clytus is one of my, and it's just a good henchman. Does the bidding of Ming, and then memorably bites it in the end. Also, I want to go with a guy who laid out some abuse and wound up taking some abuse, and that would be Zach, as played by Jonathan Banks from Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah, you know what? He was great in that. It's easy it's easy to see why he went on to become a famous tough guy in Breaking Bad and a lot of other stuff. But he was great in that. I remember seeing that as a kid, and the way he takes out is it Mikey? His buddy, just right in the head. Really disturbing death scene for a kid my age, and you would have only been 5 when that came out. Yeah, I think I saw it on tape a couple years later.
Okay.
But still.
I forgot you didn't have my father, who probably would have taken you to see that in the theater. So
yeah. And he was really good, and just kind of like this stone cold psycho, and he had this dead stare. He would stare at things and had this dead look in his eyes, and you feel like there was nothing behind those eyes. It was a really creepy performance.
Oh, Mikey.
Yeah.
So that's another honorable mention. And this came down to this. Really, I should have had these guys as 1 and 2. And this is really good. I'm going to make this 1A and 1B just because it was so tough. But I'm first going to list Alexander Godunov as Carl in Die Hard, because he's a guy that just, again, doing the bidding of Bill Clay, or Hans Gruber. So maybe I didn't sound like Tote when I did Hans Gruber, or tried not to anyway. But Godunov was perfect. Carl just. No, he was the number 2 guy, but like you said earlier, kind of rose above. And if Hans wouldn't have been such, to me, the ultimate movie villain of all time.
Yep,
Carl very easily could have overshadowed him, and just the way he came back, and just even when you thought he was dead, nope, he's going to come at McClane for one more time.
Tough SOB.
Yeah, well, and keeping on the tough SOB tip. My number 1 will be Gary Busey as Mr. Joshua.
Mr. Joshua.
In the first Lethal Weapon.
Yep.
Just that fight scene on the lawn is one of my favorite fight scenes in any action movie, any movie. It's
great. Well, and introducing a character by having him burn himself with a lighter in front, just to prove a point in front of like a client, like, holy cow, what an introduction to a character. Like, you just did not want to be anywhere near this guy after that.
Number 1A and 1B, or make one of them an honorable mention. I don't care which one. The 80s had some badass henchmen.
Yep, absolutely.
And so there's our list of 1, 2, 3, and a nice smattering of honorable mentions. I forgot to mention at the top of the show, our +1, as a counter to everyone we just listed now, you may have noticed, is from a live action movie. But now we're going to switch. Our +1 is an animated one. And of course, Disney has years on everybody but the animated films. But both of mine, I have an honorable mention and a number 1. My +1 are both from Disney films. But Jim, over to you. What do you have for your +1 animated henchman?
My +1. Okay, so I had some honorable mentions for this. If we're going to include animated shows, then I'm going to mention Henchmen 21. AKA Gary, AKA Two Ton 21 from the Venture Brothers, which is a really fun, really twisted, fun animated show from a while back. He is a henchman. For those who haven't seen the show, he's a henchman of the main villain, who basically goes through an entire character arc. He loses his best friend, his fellow henchman, and has an entire mental breakdown, and then has to rebuild his entire life as basically a villain on his own, and then eventually joins the heroes, and it essentially becomes the most badass henchman of all time in that movie, in that show's universe. And it's such a cool, fun show. But he's one of the most memorable henchmen ever on that show. I'm gonna go with Pain and Panic from Hercules. Just really fun sidekicks that James Woods gets to kick around for the whole movie. And continuing with TV shows, there's an episode of Batman the Animated Series where there's a random Batman goon who catches Batman snooping around in the villain's lair, and Batman stares at him. The guy just quietly turns around and walks away. doesn't even try to take him on. He just looks at him like, nope, yep. Don't pay me enough for this. And I just have to include him because he's the smartest henchman of all time. Just a random goon, yeah.
Random goon
who just kind of stares at Batman and goes, nope, I'm out of here. So
who's there? Goon. Oh, hire goons.
Yeah, exactly. So my number 1, my +1, I should say. Probably an obvious choice, but there's really no one else I could pick, and that's Kronk. He is the ultimate Disney henchman, because he's the most fun to watch. Patrick Warburton is one of the best voice actors of all time, and that is a character he was born to play. He's hilarious all the way through. He's probably the most likable character in the whole movie, even though he's a complete himbo. And but the writers and Patrick make him so likable and fun that you're basically rooting for him the whole time, even though he's technically one of the bad guys. So.
And folks, it took until the end of the show. Jim stole one of mine, and that's okay because I'll just build everything Jim just said. And what really brought this, I didn't even research wise looking into this. Just quickly, Iago, as voiced by Gilbert Gottfried in Aladdin, was an honorable mention. But to go back with Kronk, I've been watching Rules of Engagement, or rewatching a few of the episodes now on Amazon Prime, and just the interplay that Warburton and David Spade have on that show. Animated wise, it was, I mean, Emperor's New Groove, and sadly underappreciated of the Disney movies, kind of like slunk under the radar at the early 2000s as Pixar was kind of the main thing going on with the Disney company. But Emperor's New Groove, great movie. And Kronk, like I said, just it's an extension of his putty character, just the but more playful, and he's in his own universe. And Isma, it's she's the boss, but he doesn't care. He's doing his own thing.
Exactly.
Kronk is cooked. Awesome scenes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can feel like he could have easily have just been a sidekick to the good guys. He just was too dumb. He stumbled onto the wrong side, and he just said, "Okay, I'll fight for you now." But yeah, it's just you can't dislike him. It's impossible. He's like the only bad guy in Disney history that you cannot dislike.
Must have been better pay.
Must have been.
Well, there you have it, folks. The latest Threefer here: movie Henchmen, live action, +1 animated. And as always, folks, thank you for listening. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe and share with at least one person today. I also very quickly want to remind people that, let me turn this one off. These are the joys of self-producing. And we want to put that one up. No, this one. A reminder that you can get the merch like I'm wearing here, and also the all over the place merch over at roundin-third-productions .launchcart.store/shop. All those dashes, I just couldn't stop. And also, I want to remind people to make sure if you're an umpire and you're watching the show, and I know we've got a few fans who are umpires, a shout out to Cal Allman and his dad. And let me get that one up there very quickly. Just a reminder on how to get their products over there, and then you'll be over at Ump Attire. And as it scrolls past, ump-attire.com/products/PLT-pro-umpire-shirt-stays. And you get that over at umpattire.com. Thank you, Cal, again, for being a fan now and all over the place in the Round and Third Production baseball line of shirts. Jim, always fun. We didn't have. I was getting ready there to hit this button.
But I sprinkled in little bits here and there.
Yeah, I love it. We're gonna be doing lots more movie shows. We're gonna do music shows, but we got more coming up, folks. As we have one episode left in season 2. Here we are, folks, almost wrapping up year 2 of All Over the Place. Thanks for listening. Like, share, subscribe. Jim, as always, thanks for being an awesome co-host, and we'll be back real soon here, folks, on All Over the Place. Thanks for listening and or watching. All Over the Place, where the fun sanity never ends.